Okay, Morten, we've now worked with you about the culture and organization culture, and regarding to that, we can also discuss diversity. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, diversity is something you talk a lot about, but you also have to kind of act, not in a forceful way, but a thoughtful way. And I think diversity has to be somewhat on the top of the agenda on a management level, whether you are managing director or board member or whatever. Personally, I've been focused on diversity, not only about gender diversity, but also about ethnic diversity, cultural diversity, because I think it's many aspects that actually has an importance. In my creation of teams, I've always been focused on having a proper diversity in order to get that team performance that are needed in our businesses today. I think if you work in a global company, you need to have that in mind when you create your teams, that they are able to act on different matters. Different cultures have different ways of doing business and different ways of talking to each other. And in my experience, being also working in APJ, this was definitely one of the challenges that I faced, is that talking to a Japanese colleague is not the same as talking to another Danish colleague. And not saying that, but global companies need to think, in my humble opinion, need to think in diversity as part of their foundation when building the structures and building the strategy for the company.
And we talked about this before also, and one of your points that I thought was very good was you said you see a tendency that leaders hire just someone that's similar to yourself. So what is your views on that?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate what we discussed earlier?
Yeah, of course. I think it's not rocket science, right? I don't think I have reinvented the wheel here, but I think it's it's the acting, right? It's not only about saying it; it's also about doing it. I think if you want to create really truly high performance teams, you can do that either by being lucky of putting a couple of people together that actually work beautifully, or you can more precisely try to shape that team structure, thinking about how people will react into each other and how they can supplement each other. But if you do that, you cannot hire the same people as you are yourself, right? You will just have a group of same opinion. So in order to create that dynamic high performance team that are not afraid of speaking up, that will tell you the truth, that have a difference in opinion, it's maybe more cumbersome as a leader, but it is far more effective in performance, right? So I think that's what I have learned over time, that I really take that into account when I build my teams, that we are not all equal, neither in way of thinking, but also in our background. It could be some with very, very high qualifications that maybe is overqualified, but will add some benefits to the team, or it could be somebody who maybe don't have the skills but have a great other asset that can really add to the team. And that thing together, we can create that high performance. And I've seen that working, so that's why I'm a big believer. Not that it is the recipe of everybody, but it's one of the things that I'm very focused on in my management of teams.
Yeah, and can you also see it in your innovation level? Do you think it's good for innovation?
Yeah, I think it's good for collaboration and innovation, because if you want to innovate, you want truth, right? You want to have people saying to you, that's a good idea, but we don't believe it will be successful because of, right? You don't want to have people saying, yeah, that's great, and then nothing, and actually the idea is bad, but nobody's challenging that idea. So in terms of getting true outcomes and really coming to the point quicker, you need to have a team that is capable of actually having different views on the same challenge. Academic view, personal view, whatever view, right? A difference of gender, or difference of female or male or whatever. It doesn't really matter what type of diversity you have in the team, as long as diverse, right? And I think that's when you not only get high, but high performances for me is also innovation, right? Because it for me you see it clearly in a meeting room, right? You have a meeting room, and when you come out of the meeting room and said, we actually didn't decide anything, that's a bad meeting, right? But if you come out of the meeting and said, it was a tough discussion, and we all disagreed, but we came to a conclusion, and when we go out, we are all together. That's a good meeting, right? So I'd rather have the last one where it's tough and we have difference of opinion, and then actually come to a conclusion, than we just sit and agree, and maybe we actually don't really agree, and we just agree because we have to, right? So that's for me quite important.